Hi, welcome to You, Me and Mediumship. I would like to talk about mediumship itself, its method, how it works, and most of all, its simplicity, and talk about the logic that is behind it, the logical way in which we need to think how mediumship works. There are many books, as I've said before, many courses and things out there to help students along. I teach myself, I teach on Patreon, and it's become, I guess, more and more apparent just how confusing things are for students out there who want to learn mediumship. First of all, the teaching of mediumship is kind of, I believe, the wrong label. I believe we guide people in the right direction. I certainly do that. I work with my students individually, so there's no big classes, so that we can work face to face. And this, for me, is the only way that mediumship can truly be taught, because we are all so vastly different. We work in different ways. So it's not easy to teach a class of 10, 20 people when everybody is different to a degree. We perceive things differently. Our emotions can be vastly different. And our perception and our emotions are something that Spirit used to communicate with us. So let's make a start. Many of the students, like I said, when they come to me are quite frustrated, don't really think that they're moving forward with that mediumship. And to be honest, a lot of this frustration is just sheer confusion, because what they hear in one place differs to what they hear in another. So I like to try and keep things as simple as I can, because mediumship is a very natural process. There's nothing really odd or strange or weird, whatever you want to call it. It's purely a natural ability. There are those that wish to attune to that and work with it and enhance it, and there are those that don't believe in it at all. So if this is natural, how come everybody hasn't got that ability to communicate with Spirit? The thing is, everybody has got that ability. We all sense. We are all sensors of energy, if you like. We feel when things aren't right. We might meet somebody, not like them, even before they've said anything to us. We feel something's not quite right. We sense that. We sense that energy from them. The same with certain buildings and rooms, or when we visit friends. We can visit friends, and we immediately pick up on an atmosphere within their house. If something's not quite right, if it feels a bit heavy, they may well have had an argument or something, and you sense it straight away. It doesn't matter how much they try and hide that, you still pick it up. So we all have that degree of sensing energy. When we communicate with Spirit, we are heightening that sensitivity. We are heightening that vibration so that we can pick up that vibration of spiritual energy that is there, that is present all around us. Life source itself does not differ. The energy that runs through every living thing, everything around us, is a constant energy. That energy within us, that life source within us, does not need body. It does not need the material side of things in order to exist. We simply use the body, we use the body itself to express ourselves. It is a tool. It is there for us to be able and to go out and live a life and experience and learn. It is a tool. So it's important that we understand that the spirit, that life source that is within us, simply carries on. And once we understand that, we start to understand what it is that we are trying to achieve with our mediumship. You've all heard of sitting in the power. I call it sitting for self and sitting for spirit. So when we do that, first of all, we do not sit to communicate. We sit with self, to experience self, to grasp that life source that is within us, to understand who we truly are. And once we get a grasp of that and we understand who we are, that life force within us, that soul, if you like, once we understand that and we learn about self and who we truly are, we understand that this energy that is within us is the same energy that we are trying to communicate with, but the conscious energy of another. So, how does it work? How does this mediumship thing work? Well, if you imagine trying to think of a memory, say last year's holiday, and in that mind's eye, as you sit reliving those moments of that holiday that you thoroughly enjoyed in the sunshine somewhere, you picture it, you see it, you feel it, you feel the excitement, you feel the happiness that you felt when you were there. So in your mind's eye, you are recreating a moment of memory. When spirit tried to communicate with us, they have no physical, there is no physical body of matter. They do not speak to us. They do not appear solid in front of us because there is no body. They, through memory, through that thought vibration, will recreate an image of themselves. And that image is impressed upon us as we sit in silence. The energy of spirit, of soul within ourselves expands. And it expands to a point where if we keep doing our sitting in the power, sitting for spirit, whatever you want to call it, if we keep doing that, it revives that energy within us to a point where it naturally expands. It naturally, again, is part of who we are, as we were when we were born. That energy is only suppressed over time through life itself. So the more we sit, the more we practice that sitting side of things, that expansion, once again, becomes naturally part of us again. It's always been there, only it's been suppressed. So our sitting helps release that again, be our true selves. So we are naturally expanding a self. Spirits sense that, they see that. And as they move closer to us when we're doing sittings or demonstrations. That light of self that emanates from us is visible to them. They can merge with it. And when they merge with it, they can impress that thought vibration, their memory, if you like. That consciousness carries on. So they can impress special moments that they spent with you. They can impress upon the medium images, not only of themselves, how they looked, but they can impress to a degree of where the medium will sense names. They will sense maybe door numbers. They will sense, not only from the image itself, the medium will sense that personality of that soul. They may well have been very jolly, they may well maybe a bit miserable, but the medium will sense that. And the degree of that mergence, so the more out there, if you like, the more expansion that medium is giving, the easier it is for that element of the conscious soul of another who has passed, the easier it is for them to impress upon us even more detail in what it is they're trying to tell us. When we work as mediums, or when we first start off, it's very easy to try and work out what's going on, to question, where did that come from? What did I feel that? Why did I? Instead of sitting there trying to work it all out, what that process is, it's important that we have faith in our knowing, because that is a sense within us that is being impressed upon us. So sometimes that name, that place will just come to us. And instead of questioning where it came from, we need to learn to accept that it is simply a knowing. It has been impressed upon us from spirit. We do not hear in a crisp voice the words of spirit. There are many who may well think they do, but it is impressed upon us on a vibrational level. It's no different than thinking in your own mind. When you think of something, when you talk to yourself in your mind, you are not using voice. You are not using voice box yet. It still sounds like you. The same with spirit. They have that thought vibration that they impress upon us within our own energy fields. So instead of us hearing our own voice in our heads, if you like, we hear a thought vibration. So the same as a thought, their words. We sense those words. So what a lot of mediums also find very difficult sometimes is focus. You cannot pass on a message with a single image. So if you get an image of a bicycle, you cannot pull away from that image and just say bicycle, because no doubt there are many people who have owned a bicycle. So what's important, that when that bicycle appears in our mind's eye, that we focus upon it. And by focusing upon it, we will then start to get a sense from it. We will then sense a bigger picture, if you like. There'll be maybe an image of a person with that bicycle. They may well be an image of the surrounding area that bicycle is parked in, if you like. You may see a field, you may see a park. There are many things. And as these pieces start to come together, the story builds, and that memory from spirit will start to tell a story. We focus on that bicycle. We allow that energy to come in. We allow that energy to merge with us and tell us that story. We don't just sit there in a reading and give a string of objects that we are seeing in our mind's eye. That is not a reading. There is a message that spirit will want to convey to that sitter. And it may well be a fond memory of something that, or some time they spent with that sitter in life. It may well have been a ride around the park on the bike. It may well be things like that they are trying to convey to us. We need to allow that impression to build into a message, rather than just throwing what you are picking up at the sitter. Just throwing an image, a bicycle. I have a red bicycle. And no doubt the sitter will ask, who did that belong to? We need to allow, by focusing on that bicycle, the rest of that story, that memory, to come in. And we can do that simply by holding the focus on that bicycle. When I do readings, I don't sit there staring at the sitter. That I don't think is a good way of reading. Because no doubt somebody somewhere, some skeptic will say you're just reading the facial expressions from the sitter. I will look away and I will work with spirit. I will be focused on that bicycle, if you like. I'll be focusing on it in my mind's eye. I'll be working with it. I'll be opening up that line of communication, allowing spirit to impress more information, if you like, more of that message upon me, so that I can give a more accurate reading. You see it all the time, especially with like new mediums, where they will get an image and they will just give that image and then stop and look for that reaction. So we mustn't get caught in that trap. We must allow spirit to come closer and work with us. So where that impression of your thought exists, when you're there cooking the dinner or whatever you're doing and you're miles away, let's call it cuckoo land, you're there in cuckoo land, reliving that holiday you had last year, wishing you were there, no doubt. But while you're there in that space, remember that is the space where spirit will put in their memory for you to convey to your sitter. That is the place, that is your space. You will get to know where that space is. You will work with it. You will go to it and return from it very quickly as you give messages from loved ones in spirit. There'll be a practice that will come naturally to you. You won't need to remind yourself where to go. You will naturally go there. And you will learn about the space because it is part of who you are. And you will learn about who you are through sitting in that space of self. You will allow that self to expand from you naturally, because that is what happens when you sit in that space. You are experiencing truth. You are experiencing self, true self. You are experiencing not only that, you are experiencing the love, the light of life itself. Many will call this energy, this loving, warm energy, Many will label it. There's God, there's Buddha, there's who knows. There are many gods and there are many labels. We call it God. And throughout the ages, many of the philosophers, many of the holy people who talk about this space, they talk of the experiences that they have had there, of feeling, that feeling of God. Don't know, obviously over the years, over many years, and many religions have been built on many teachings. We've kind of put a human twist to this life source itself. We do that because we need an explanation, we need it on paper, we need to understand what it is, when in fact it is who we are. It is not a separate entity. It is part of who we are. It flows through us. In order to know truths, and for argument's sake, Jesus would talk of going and sitting with self. Would talk of that go within. And there's only one reason why that was said. Because there lies the truth. When we sit, we are simply shutting off the plastic world, if you like. There's very little truth out there simply because it is plastic. But what we learn while we're sat in that silence about the real truth, we can learn to expand that out into that plastic world and hopefully make things a bit better. So, if you're an up-and-coming medium, or if you're somebody who's learning, if you like, the place to be is with you, with self. Spirit, when they see that expansion, and you do not need to sit there, you do not need to sit imagining walking through woods, laying on the beach. You don't need any of that. That is simply imagination. Just sit and be with who you truly are. The I am, if you like. Once you understand the very fact that you exist and have always existed as an energy, as a spiritual energy, of one of love and one of light. You have always been. That has never altered. How you express that in this world may well have altered. Because if you allow mind to take over instead of self, instead of heart, then you can be many things. You can be lovely, you can be horrible, you can be nasty, you can be nice, you can be all sorts of things because you are expressing mind and what that mind has processed, the way it has perceived things over the years, probably over many lifetimes. You are simply expressing that experience of life itself, of that plastic world. But it's interesting sometimes how people change simply through learning about self, that truth that is within you. once they learn that, and once they allow it to express through who they are, then some people can change amazingly so. So let's try and narrow that down a little bit. Unfortunately, once I start waffling, I don't tend to stop, but let's try and narrow that down. So, mediumship is simply knowing self, understanding that life source within you, getting a grasp of that, getting to know it, understanding that the energy that you're trying to communicate with, that conscious energy of that loved one who has passed, is simply that life source, the same life source that is within you. It is the same energy. You are made of the same stuff. Only you're in body and they are not. So once you understand that, once you understand your place, that place where you see that holiday from last year, where you sense that warmth of the sunshine whilst you were there, the happy feeling when you were there, when you are replaying it there in your mind, you will learn to step aside from that and allow that conscious thought vibration, that energy of a loved one to step in and impress upon that space for you. They will put their thoughts in there, their images in there for you to work with. And it's for you to learn to focus on those images, those senses that you feel from that, that personality you get from that. It's for you to focus on it and give that message. We all, as I said, are made of the same stuff. We are all an expression of that life source, that energy. We all express it differently, hence the many characters we have, hence we are all so different. We are all unique in our own way, because our expression is so vastly different. And the good thing is, when you sit in that space, Spirit will learn about your experience, about your perception, about your emotion. And they can use that. They can work with that to help that message get through to you. They know what that happy vibe is within you, how it feels for you, that sad vibe in you. They will learn how that feels for you. They will infiltrate that. They will give you that feeling, that sense, because they know that you understand what it means. So they know what sad means for you. They know what feeling happiness means for you. And they will trigger it. They will work with it. So not only are we experiencing self when we're sat in that space, Spirit are experiencing you as well. So between those two energies, that beautiful life force that's within you, that love, that light, that warmth, that energy of God, if you like, that is within you. They enlighten it, they bring it closer to your heart, if you like. You experience it. That's why you feel so much better. Sometimes you can sit for 20 minutes, half an hour, come out of that sitting and just feel wonderful and experience absolutely nothing. Apart from just experiencing who you are. Sitting in that space, experiencing I am. You. Experiencing self. Yet that experience of self has enlightened you so much. You feel like you've had a night's sleep. You know, you feel wonderful, you feel light. It's a lovely feeling. So, the simplicity of mediumship can be expressed, I guess, simply by saying, all you have to do is know who you are. By doing so, you will understand the very essence of that spiritual energy that you are trying to communicate with, because that's who you are. I hope that makes sense. So when we look at the world of spirit, we are at the moment, we're kind of talking about individuals, if you like, trying to communicate with loved ones, for others to put their minds at rest and help them to move on. But what about spirit world itself? Has Grandma got her bungalow? Has Grandad got his allotment? And the beauty of it is, it's one word, I guess, it's creativity. Just how you recreate your holiday in the sun, spirit can recreate the things they loved in life. It's not material. You know, they don't put the foundations in and build their bungalow or anything like that. But they can recreate the beauty of that emotion, that happiness, that one thing created for them here whilst they were in body. So that feeling of that bungalow, the excitement when they looked at it, that they built whilst they were here, that allotment, the enjoyment they used to get from that sense, that feeling, they can recreate that and relive that. Just like we can recreate in thought, they do exactly the same. They can recreate their feeling, their emotion. It's not reliving it to them. But what we need to understand is this isn't in physical form. You know, there's no bungalow, there's no allotment. But within that, the context of how they imagine it, how they sense it, how they feel it, is still the same. So they get the same fulfillment from it within the world of spirit as what they did whilst here. We need to forget some of these crazy ideas that the world of spirit is the same as here. Forget the matter, forget the solid things, forget all that. Forget all this physical stuff, this plastic stuff. Push that away. They have that creative ability, so they will experience it as they did here, but there is no material side to it. And the reason as well behind some of this is that many things that we love and long for here, many things that we want to do here and experience here, how many of those things are actually just to fill a gap in what we think we need? How many of those things are real need? Because our understanding whilst in that world of spirit is vastly different. Our needs are not the same as what they were when they were here. Things are seen totally different to some degree. There may be many people who like to have a pint or that gin and tonic or whatever here, because in their minds it's something they need in order to get through the day. It's a physical thing. It's not real. You've created that. We've been led to believe that it is something we need, and we've accepted it. In the world of spirit, that need does not exist. Therefore, it is not sought. So many things we think we need here and we're going to miss when we get over into that spirit world will be non-existent. That need will vanish. We do not go to spirit world and find ourselves in a hospital to heal, because there is no need to heal. And logically, when you think about it, there is no body. If there is no body, then what would be the point of having a hospital? Quite logical, really. The vibration of the world of spirit is an awful lot higher than the vibration that we experience here. Our needs will be different. Our understanding will be different. On that next rung of the ladder, as we work through these realms of existence, those needs of what we need in the physical will just fade away. And our understanding, like I said, as we work our way through those realms, our understanding will be vastly different to what it is now. That next step of the ladder, we still will not know it all. And many mediums will give the impression sometimes that once there, that's it. Total understanding of everything. And from the energies that I've worked with over the years, I have been told and I understood through asking the question that although, like us, we understand that there are realms of high vibration, we know of them, but it's very rare that anyone would experience them. And it is the same when we pass into that next realm, if you like. We will have an awareness of the higher realms, but we will not know it all. We all have experienced a number of lifetimes, a number of different life experiences, if you like. Some have had many, some have had few. So our understanding, even when we're here, can vary. Because some of that understanding stays with us. That's why we have sometimes natural mediums who are born that way. They hold on to that understanding. They're lucky enough to be able to hang on to it. It's in there, and they've never buried it. And I think a lot of it is to do with life experience, the kind of lives we lead. Some are lucky, where it hasn't been suppressed that deeply. And some are unfortunate, where it's been totally buried away. We've all seen people who wear blinkers. We've all seen people who live for one thing only. And sometimes it can be a job. They're totally swallowed up in something. They only understand one thing. And they may well be geniuses and have a total understanding of one particular thing. And they're happy with that. And who am I to knock that? But those people have been suppressed to such a degree that only understanding is that one single thing. And sometimes they can be quite emotionless, cold people that are just there for this one thing. And that is sad. So never look at those bad times as bad times. They are simply experiences that you needed to have. And you've come through them. And you've learned from them. And that's the most important thing, is that we learn from them. We will only face what we need to face. The energy within self, that self, who you truly are, knows what it needs to learn, what it needs to experience. You may not be totally consciously aware of what those needs are. We all moan about them sometimes when they come up, those mountains we have to climb and things go wrong, and we're all the same. We all complain about these things. But self, the very purpose of self, is already laid out. It knows what it needs, and it will seek them out. And consciously, we can walk around them as many times as we like. But unfortunately, they will appear again. Until we conquer them, we understand them, and we learn from them. So if you're going through bad times in life, just be aware that you will learn from these. And you will be stronger when you come out the other side. You will shine brighter. So, purpose of life itself is simply to grow. And I don't mean in height, from 4 foot to 6'6". I don't mean none of that. What I'm talking about is self-growth, soul. We are on a journey, and we need to learn in order to move forward. We are energy of light and love. We are life source itself. And we need to kind of energize that, if you like. We need to grow brighter as souls. And we need to experience in order to do that. We need to learn from that. The guides that work with us are helpers. Those that give us that nudge in our everyday life. Guides do not sit an exam, read a few books, and become guides. They don't go to guide college or anything like that. They are there because of experience, because of many lives, because of the lessons they have learned. They shine bright. That's why they're there. That's why they're there to help us. Obviously, the vibration of soul varies depending on the realm in which it finds itself. We really only normally experience the vibration of spirit world, of that next step. As mediums, that's normally all that we experience whilst we're working. And if we're very lucky, sometimes we can sense that unbelievable vibration of a higher realm, which is sometimes something very hard to put into words. And that's one of the reasons, I guess, that we can never know it all, because we would never be able to put it into words. It's beyond our comprehension. And it's something we need to accept. You know, the human mind, the way it works is quite simple. It needs to see it, believe it, to believe it. It needs to see it to believe it. It needs to understand it, label it, put it in a book, and drum it down people's throats. And there are many, many books, as you know, all interpreted how the human needs it to be interpreted in order to understand it. And unfortunately, the way that it is interpreted sometimes, it just loses its strength. It loses its truth. We take things so literally as human beings, but we write it in that way so that we can understand it. Otherwise, it would just be over the top of our heads. There are many teachings of Jesus that are taken so literally. Instead of allowing his words to be absorbed and try and get a grip and a true understanding of what it is he was saying, we take it literally. And many of the translations are just not right. And we've lost some of that truth. So it's important. Well, this is my perception on it. But that's why I think it's so important we spend that time of sitting for self, to regain some of that truth that we've lost in some of these written scriptures. One thing we know for sure is very logical. There's no God in this world who would want to cause harm upon another person. He wouldn't want us to do that. He wouldn't want us to harm anyone else in order to get our own belief system in place. And this is what a lot of these systems are. They are simply based on what we think we believe. The truth is very simple. There's nothing complicated about it. There's nothing harsh, evil, nasty. And we know many of the things that we have read over the years We know that some of these are questionable. We feel that. If we question it and we feel that something doesn't ring true to us, then you are more or less admitting that this is not truth. If it doesn't feel right, it's not truth. Because the essence of that truth is in you. And when something doesn't ring that bell, then you need to listen. So, logically, mediumship is a natural, I say ability, but it is natural. And it is in us all. We just need to find self to work with it. Who we really, truly are. Put the time, the dedication into that, and things will start to unfold for you. And allow them to unfold naturally. Don't work your way through chapters of book. Work your way through layers of self. I hope that's helped. I hope I haven't confused too many people. Please leave comments and questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Please like, please subscribe, and thank you so much for listening. I hope I've helped you in some way. Take care and bye for now.